Hello and welcome to this session. I'm Raghav and today we are going to learn hooks and groups in Playwright. This is going to be very easy and very interesting and I will go very basic step by step. We will see what are hooks and how do we use hooks in Playwright tests. We will see what are groups, how do we group our tests in Playwright, and we will see a hands-on demo, step by step hands-on demo. So let's get started. And in Playwright, or in general as well, we have hooks where we can make some tests or some steps run before all our tests, before each of our tests, after all our tests, or after each of our tests. So let me show you a demo. I'm going to my Playwright project here. And here I'm going to create a new test file. So in this tests folder, so I have my tests folder here and I will create a new file. I'll right click and say new file and I will name it as hooks and groups.spec.js. You can name anything and here I will say import. At the top I will import test and expect from Playwright. And now I will very quickly create a test. I will say test and I'll give some title. Let us say I want to create a login test. So I'll go to some demo website. I'm going to this sourcedemo.com and here is a login page and I can use these usernames and password. So I'm just going to this. I will say test. This is the login test and I will use the async function. And in the async function, I will pass the page fixture and I will complete the test block. And here I will say await page dot go to, and I will use the URL of the application, which is sourcedemo.com. Now I can manually add all the steps. I can manually find the locators and then add all the steps as we have learned in the earlier sessions. But now because we already know that I can use Playwright Inspector, we have seen that in the earlier session where we learned how do we record. So we can use a Playwright Inspector and then record rest of my steps. And for that, I will have to use a pause here. I will say page dot pause. I can record it separately as well, but I will just save some time. I will pause the test, which will open the Playwright Inspector, and then I will record the rest of the steps here. So I will save this, and now to run, I will open a terminal and I will say here npx playwright test, and then I will give the test file location, which is under the tests folder. I am typing tests and I will press tab on my keyboard. So it will auto complete. And here I will say hooks. And again, I will press tab key. So it should auto complete the file name. And now this will run this particular test file, which I have created here, but this will run on all the browsers. I just want to run on a single browser for now. So I will say -- project, and I will say Chromium. And then I will say, I also want to run in a headed mode so that I can see the Playwright Inspector and then I can record. So I will say -- headed. So this is -- it is coming in the next line. I hope you can see this. I hope you can see it now. It is -- headed. So the command I have used is this npx playwright test, then the file location -- project Chromium space -- headed. I will run this and let us see. So this should open the Chrome browser and go to the application. And yes, you can see as it encountered the pause statement, it has paused and opened the Playwright Inspector. And now I can click on the record and record my rest of the steps. So I'll click on record and I will add the username. I'm using this username, that is standard underscore user. And then the password is mentioned here, secret sauce. So I will say secret underscore SAUCE sauce. And I'll click on login. And that's it. If I go back to the Playwright Inspector, all these are recorded. I will stop the recording and now I will copy the steps. I can use this copy button, which will copy everything, but I just want these steps. So I'll just manually select and copy from here. Yes, this is what I need. I will copy and add to my test script here. So I'll go here. And after this first step, I will just paste it here. I can do a right click and say format document to correct the formatting. And for now, I will also remove all these comment statements or comment steps. I'm clicking inside the comment and pressing Control X on my keyboard. If you're on Mac, you can press Command and X key. So this will remove the entire line and that's it. So this is my test now. And it is going to this URL and then clicking on the username, adding the username. I don't want to click. I just want to add, so I can remove these. Click on username and password box as well. So I have now my test here. It enters username and password, clicks on the login button, and then checks that the application is navigated to this page. And after that, I will also close the page. So I will say page.close. I no longer need the pause. So I will say page.close. And now let me run again. I'll go to the terminal, and to stop this process, I will press Control C on my keyboard. I will say Y so that it terminates the job. And now I have my terminal ready. I am pressing the top arrow on my keyboard to bring up the last command. And now I will run this command. Let us see now. It should now run the complete test, the login test. So yes, it was very fast, but it has completed. And you can see here it says one passed. Now, let us say I want to run one more test. I want to create one more test, which is I want to go to my home page and want to do some actions on the home page, and that I will do only after login. So I'm creating one more test here. I am saying test, and I'm giving the title as home page. And again, I will use the async function. Inside the async function, I will pass the page fixture and then complete this test block. And now here, I will first have to do all the login steps. So I will say, I'll copy all these steps again. And then at the end, I will say page.pause. I will remove the close and say page.pause. So it will pause here, and then I will record the steps on my home page. Also, this time I just want to run this home page test. So I will say test.only. This is the annotation. We will learn more about different annotations in the next session. But just for now, I just want to run this particular test in this file. So I'm saying dot only here. So it will only run this particular test. I will run the test again. I will run the command again to run this test file, which will run the home page test. And yes, I'm on the home page, and now it has opened the Playwright Inspector. I will click on record, and I will do some recording here. So let us say I'll click on add to cart, add to cart. I'll go to this item and again say add to cart. And that's it. I'll go back to my Playwright Inspector, and I will just stop recording and then copy all these steps. So I'll just copy these steps from here and go back to my test script. And after logging in, I'm pasting all these steps. I'm removing all these comments by pressing Control X on my keyboard. And I will do a right click and say format document to correct the formatting. And here it is clicking on all these items on the home page, and then it is waiting for this URL, and then all this is fine. I will also say page dot close at the end, and that's it. Now this is home page. Let me create one more test for logout. So I'm creating one more test here. I will say test, and the title is logout, and the async function and I will pass the page fixture, and I will complete the test block. Now I have to just log out after wherever I am on any page. So let us say I will first have to log in again so that I can go inside the application and then I can log out. So I'll copy the login steps again. And then I will again say here, await page.pause. So it will pause and I can then record the login steps. And I will say dot only, and I will remove the only annotation from the earlier test so that it does not run this one and only runs my logout test. And I will go to my terminal. This process is already running, so I will press Control C and I will terminate the job, and then I will say clear and I will run the command to run the tests. And let's see now. So yes, it is running and it will pause here after login. So I will record the steps. So I have to click here on this menu and then click on logout. And that's it. I will go back to the Playwright Inspector, stop recording and copy these steps. Go back to my test and paste these steps here. So you can see these are the steps. And then it is also checking that it is navigated after logout to this particular URL, which is fine. And I will say page.close. So I have created 3 tests here and everything is fine. Let me remove the only annotation so that now it should run all the 3 tests. So these are the 3 tests: login, homepage, and logout. I will go to my terminal and run the command to run this test file. And let us see now, it should run 3 tests: login, homepage, and logout. So it is running the 3 tests. That was login, this is homepage test, and now the logout test. I think the logout test failed. Let me see what is the issue here. If I expand this, okay, I have to remove this as well. This is not required here, the browser context. It got copied from the Playwright Inspector, but I don't need that. So I'll remove this step and let me now run the tests again and check. So this is running the tests. The first test, login, the second test, homepage, and now this is the logout test. And now everything is running fine. And you can see we have got all the 3 tests have passed, and this is all running fine now. Now, here you can now see we are repeating the login steps in all the tests. So in the login test, we anyways need to log in, but when we go to homepage, we again have to repeat the login steps. When we go to logout test, we again have to repeat the login steps there as well. So what I can do is I can go to my login test, and here I can give the hook. I can say dot before, and we have before all and before each. I want to run this test before each test so that it can log into the application and then do the rest of the test. So I will say before each. And when I say before each, I do not have to give the title here. I just have to say use the async function with the page fixture. And I will also remove the close. I can comment, I am pressing Control /, or I can just press Control X and remove the close steps, the close page step. So this is my before each hook now, which is having the login steps. And this means this particular function will run before each test of this file, so that it will run before homepage and will also run before the logout. So now I can remove the login steps from the homepage test. So I'm removing all this from here, and I will also remove the login steps from the logout page test. So you can see this is my logout test only having the logout steps. This is my homepage test only having the homepage steps. And then if you see after the test, we are also closing the page. In each of the test, I'm saying page.close. So this also I can put into a hook. I can create one more function. I will say test dot after. Now we have after all and after each. I want after all the tests are done, I want to close the page. So I will say after all, and again, I will use the async function having the page fixture. And I will put this after page.close inside this function, which is the after all hook. And now I can remove it from here and also remove it from here. So basically this file now has two tests, that is homepage and logout. And these are the hooks which are being used here. Let us first run and check if everything is working fine. So I will now go and run the tests and let us see this time. We will also see the report after running and see if these hooks are shown there. So you can see everything is working fine. This was homepage and this is now the logout. Everything is running fine. Let me see the report by running the command show report. And yes, you can see here now we have homepage and logout. If I go to homepage test, here we have the before hook and you can see this before hook here, and we can see all the details here and all the steps here. And then at the end, you will see the after hooks. So we have the after hooks where we have the here, all these closing the page here. And similarly, if you want, you can see the other test and you will see the before and after hooks here as well. So this is the after all hook, and here you can see all the details of this hook. So this is how we can use these hooks. Now, as of now, we have not grouped our test. If you see here, we have directly added our tests inside the file, but it may happen a lot of times that you want to run a particular group with some different types of hook. For example, your test file can have many tests. Let us say, for example, your test file has 10 tests. Out of these 10 tests, you want to group 5 tests and you want to have a separate before each, before all, after each, or after all hooks for those set of 5 tests. In that case, you can group these tests using the describe block. And for that, you can say, I will create a describe block. I will just say describe. Let me say test.describe. And then I will give some title. I will say all my tests. You can give any title here. And then just give a function declaration. Here we are not using any async function or not passing any fixture, just a function declaration, and that's it. So this is a describe block, and all the tests you want to group under this block you can put inside this describe block. So for now, I will just remove these end brackets of the describe group or the describe block and put it at the end so that all these tests become a part of this describe group. I'm putting it here, and I will also do a right click and say format document. And now you can see all these tests are inside this describe group. If I expand this, all these tests are inside this describe group. And now this before each, after all these hooks will work only for the tests inside this describe group. If I have more tests here after the describe group, it will not work for them. So let us see. I will run my tests again. I'll run the file again and let us see now. In the report as well, it will show that all these tests are under a group. So it is all running fine, and you can see all the hooks are running properly. And if I now see the report, I will say show report. And here in the reports, you can see all my tests. This is our group. So here you can see all my tests homepage, all my tests logout. If I go inside, you can see all these hooks as well here. everything is here and all these is working fine. So this is the logout, and here also you can see before after hooks as well. So this is all working fine, and this is how we can use hooks and groups. Now a little more about these hooks. So these are the hooks we have seen: before all, before each, after all, after each. These are the hooks we can use. When we use the before all hook, it will execute before all the tests in the file. And if you use this particular hook inside a describe block, then it will run before all the tests of that particular describe block or describe group. And if you use multiple before all blocks or multiple before all sections, they will run in order of their registration. As you have created them, they will run in that order as only in the file. Similarly, before each runs before each test. If it is created at a file level, it will run before each test of that file. If it is inside a describe group, it will run before each test of this group. And again, it will run in order of registration if more than one before each blocks are there or before each hooks are there. The same goes for after all and after each hooks. So this runs after all the tests or after all the tests in a group. After each will run after each of the tests in a file, or after each test in the group if it is inside a group. And it will run in order of registration if there are more than one hooks used. So this was about hooks and organizing test using describe group. I will tell you more about annotations and tags in the coming session. I hope this was useful. I will see you in the next session. Thank you for watching and never stop learning.